Hello everybody, this is Frédéric Billet and you are listening to Inside Billet's Head, real people with real challenges teaching us real lessons. Hello everyone. Thank you for clicking the download button. I am talking to you from right here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I am a writer, I am a host, I am a friend, I am a partner, I am an animal lover, I am a tough guy, I am a sensitive guy. I do what I want, and I do it when I want it. I just want to thank everybody out there, all my Facebook followers, all my Twitter followers, all my new subscribers. Unbelievable. The list is growing and growing and growing. And I just want to take this time to thank you, to express to you my gratitude. And guess what? New gifts just for you are on the way. All right, let's begin. This podcast is about entering the minds and the souls of real people facing real challenges, teaching us real lessons. Basically, it is your podcast. It is a personal journal podcast. It's a life podcast. It is free every time you download it on iTunes. Please go over there and subscribe. It is listener supported, so you know where you can do that. Is tell a friend, leave a review on iTunes, or for more podcasts, free gifts, articles. Subscribe at www.fredericby.com. You can also find me on Twitter, which is @byfred, or on Facebook. Simply type in my name, Frédéric Billet or Frédéric by Writer, and you will be set. If you need inspiration, motivation, entertainment, everything in between, you are at the right place. All right. This week's show, we will talk about two things. Number one, I'll give you a glimpse at this Wednesday's guest. You will love her. And number two, we'll review a book that changed my life, and I know that it will change yours. This week's subject is a very endearing subject. It's a very important subject. For me, I know for you out there. And you know what? This week's subject changed many people's lives. That's right. The title, How Christianity Helped Me Find My Life's Purpose. That's right. This will be the subject of this Wednesday's podcast. And we will be joined by a friend, Marie-Eve Higgins. That's right. Her name is Marie-Eve Higgins. She is a thanatologist. She is a Christian. She is also a humanitarian living in Canada. I've known her for a couple of years. I've witnessed parts of her personal growth, and that's why I invited her on the show. I was so glad to have her because I knew she had something to say. And I knew that you would benefit from it. This Wednesday, we will go into details about the death of her mother. We will talk about her transition from a complete non-spiritual to Christian. And believe me, people, when I say she is Christian all the way. The other thing we're going to talk about is her journey to find her life's purpose. Isn't that today's generation main question? What is my life's purpose? And I guarantee you her answers will enlighten you and help you answer your own questions. It is definitely one of the better interviews I have done so far. I loved it. I still think about it. I learned about it. And I learned about her. I didn't know certain things before I did this interview, and I've known her for a couple of years, and we had some deep conversations, ladies and gentlemen. She is a great person. Tune in this Wednesday, Marie-Ève Higgins. And that brings me to the favorite part of this show, one of the most popular part of this show. And I know that you listen to this because of this part. I read all the time, and I was excited to share this book with you guys because I know it can help you in so many ways. And I know that if you're listening to this show, many of you out there need this book. The author is W.M. Paul Young, and the title is The Shack. Come on, I know that you've heard about it. You have to have heard about it. It is a classic. The publisher is Windblown Media, and it is Christian fiction. Now, wait a minute. For those of you out there who are not Christians, stay tuned, because I'll tell you why this book appeals to all faiths. I'll give you a brief summary of what the story is. Basically, the main character is Mackenzie Allen Phillip, and his youngest daughter, Missy, has been abducted during a family vacation. Isn't that one of our worst fears? Anyway, evidence that she may have been brutally murdered is found in an abandoned shack deep in the Oregon wilderness. 4 years later, in the midst of his great sadness, and that's a capital G, and that's a capital S, Mac receives a suspicious note, apparently from God, inviting him back to that shack for a weekend. Against his better judgment, he arrives at the shack on a wintry afternoon and walks back into his darkest nightmare. What he finds there will change Mac's world forever. And you know, I want to tell you the third part of this summary. It's written on the back cover of the book, and I think it's important for you to know. In a world where religion seems to grow increasingly irrelevant, the shack wrestles with the timeless question: where is God in a world so filled with unspeakable pain? The answers Mac gets will astound you and perhaps transform you as much as it did him. You will want everyone you know to read this book. And this is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I loved this book. My reaction to that book: hey, look, I'm not a perfect person. Nobody is, right? And by reading that book, I found out that I misjudged people. I have to admit, I approached this book with the notion that I would be hit over the head with a Bible. Don't you hate that? I hate it. And guess what? You know, we often get that from religious people. I thought that this book would try to preach to me the greatness of God and Jesus Christ, and would subtly try to convert me into a Christian. I was wrong. I was pleasantly startled. This book shows a great deal of openness to other cultures and religions. It gave me a new perspective about Christianity and Christians. In fact, it allowed me to open my mind and dig deeper before judging a group of people. I felt, and I have to admit again, I felt a slight shame at my preconceived notions about Christians. And this book really, really opened my mind, like I said earlier. Why did I love this book? Well, let me tell you why. First of all, the story was engaging. The setting was phenomenal. You knew exactly where you were in the story. I could see it. I could imagine it. The way it was written. As a writer, I need to learn from this book. It was so well written. It was such an easy read, easy to understand. I underlined so many parts of this book, it's not even funny. And let me tell you why I underlined so many parts of this book. The lessons were deep and they resonated with me in a powerful way. It allowed me to discover more about myself and to learn. The lessons are about love. Love, love, love. It's exactly the type of book that I want to write and read. Everybody, young and old, should read that book. And I love to learn something about myself when I read, and this book did the job. Another main reason why I loved it, with its main characters, it literally shakes the image of Christianity, the images that we have about God, about Jesus, about all of these, entities. And I love the way the author portrayed them. It really, and you know what? I'm not surprised that a lot of Christians are upset about this book. I'm not surprised. Personally, I loved it. The other reason why I loved it, the author pictures God and Jesus, like I said earlier, as women, Muslims, blacks, whites, all races are part of this story. And this is what this show is about. All races, all cultures, all faiths. Love is universal. And that is why I choose this book for this week's subject. The issues that the book raised. First of all, the importance to forgive. Isn't it one of the most wonderful virtues? To forgive, to make peace with our past and present. Yes, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive others who harmed us, right? The other issues that the book raised is personal and spiritual growth. This is what we're about. And I know that this is what you are about because you are listening to this show. And also, get over our own bitterness. Isn't that one of the major things in our life? Bitterness. Everybody's bitter once in a while. But when we're bitter for a long period of time, it becomes like toxic waste in our spirit, in our bodies, in our minds. Let me read you an excerpt with Mac, the main character, talking with Jesus about the religious institutions. Mac paused, searching for the right words. You're talking about the church as this woman you're in love with. I'm pretty sure I haven't met her. He turned away slightly. She's not the place I go on Sundays, Max said, more to himself than to Jesus, unsure if that was safe to say out loud. Mac, that's because you're seeing only the institution, a man-made system. That's not what I came to build. What I see are people and their lives, a living, breathing community of all those who love me, not buildings and programs. Mac was a bit shaken, aback to hear Jesus talking about church this way. But then again, it didn't really surprise him. It was a relief. So how do I become part of that church? He asked. This woman you seem to be so gaga over. It's simple. Mac, it's all about relationships and simply sharing your life. What we are doing right now, just doing this and being open and available to others around us. My church is all about people, and life is all about relationships. You can't build it. It's my job, and I'm actually pretty good at it, Jesus said with a chuckle. For Mac, these words were like a breath of fresh air. Simple, not a bunch of exhausting work and a long list of demands, and not sitting in endless meetings, staring at the backs of people's heads, people he really didn't even know, just sharing life. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that profound? Just sharing life. I wanted to share this with you people. The only negative, as a fan, I'm a fan of books. I have my own types of, I have my tastes. The only negative I can say is in the beginning, I would have liked it to get into the action a little bit faster. But with that being said, it is worth pushing through. And there is not a lot of pushing through to do. Don't get me wrong. But that's really the only negative there is as a fan. Overall, this book represents everything I stand for. I would give it a 9. Check the reviews on Amazon, people. They support my claim. I checked before doing this show, and there is like more than 9,000 reviews. This book is a phenomenon. It is perfect for anyone wishing to expand their perspective on life or anyone going through a tough time. You will find answers in this book. I would compare it to the novel The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and we spoke about it in an earlier podcast, another book that really changed my life. Like I said earlier, this book was a phenomenon in the literary world, and it is well deserved, I have to admit. The impact this book had on me. Listen, this book, I keep it in my library, and I will reread it. I will also make sure to read the author's 2 other works. That's right. He kept writing after that. I will steal a line from a review on the back cover for the impact it had on me. This story reads like a prayer. And that is the truth. Lastly, what I got out of it: love is the answer, and God is love. This Wednesday, Marie-Ève Higgins, tune in, thanatologist, Christian, and humanitarian living in Canada. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it helpful. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can visit fredericbai.com/podcast. If you'd like to connect, you can also tweet me @byfred, or you can find me on Facebook @FrederickBaiWriter. And remember, live with purpose, passion, and love.